Gets It with Michael Smith, presented by The Farmer's Dog.
Joe, they're saying flack around and find out. What do you think of that?
You know, it's funny what people come up with. I mean, the internet is crazy. At this point, you just kind of learn to roll with everything and let people, you know, be as creative as they can be and have fun with it. I don't follow a lot of it, but you get sent a lot of the stuff and you just naturally kind of see it.
Crazy is one way to describe this ride. Joe, make this make sense, man. Like, how do you explain this story?
I don't know. I don't know if I need to explain the story. It's just kind of, we're in the moment right now. We're still in it. Listen, for me, there is the surreal component of it just because it's Cleveland and, you know, it's all kind of happened so quick. I do get that part of it, but at the same time, you know, I've been hungry to play some football like this for a while, and it's not like I can't wrap my head around the fact that we're playing the way we are and things like that. So I get the story part of it and us winning and going 4-1 in the last few weeks and stuff like that. But at the same time, like I said, I've been playing for a long time and I can wrap my head around why we're here right now. It's just kind of, you know, it's crazy when you sit back and think about it a little bit. But when you're in the moment and you're playing, it's just, it feels natural.
I'm sensing this almost like hey, this is a surprise to you guys, but
right.
I knew what I could do.
Yeah, listen, like I said, I think there is that piece of it where, yeah, it's a little surprising just the way it's all happened. Mm-hmm. But the fact that it is happening, like I said, especially when you're in the moment on the field, it's not like I'm like, you know, sitting in my chair at night, like stunned by the fact that this is happening. I do feel very fortunate because there's so many factors to get you to this point. You know, luck, you know, you can say whatever it is. So I do feel very fortunate to have been given the opportunity and been put in this situation with this specific team. I mean, it's crazy how those things work out. You know, it is crazy, like how all those things kind of come together. But then that aside, yes, the going out there and playing well, I better not be surprised by that part of it.
What is it about this situation, scheme, system, Stefanski, supporting cast that has allowed you to thrive?
Listen, I mean, we're a talented football team. And when you have that, when you have the right pieces, when you have guys that can play and you have coaches that put those guys in just good positions, consistently good positions. And then obviously you're going to be in some spots here and there where you have to make up for things. But if you can consistently be put in positions to win and have a slight advantage, then good players are going to take advantage of that most of the time. And I just think when you look at this roster, so much credit goes to, you know, the guys that put it together, but just the guys out there. We've dealt with injuries all year, probably mostly before I got here, but you know, we've dealt with injuries all year, and it's just a credit to guys stepping up, and then the guys that haven't been injured just leading the way, and not necessarily elevating their game, but just being on top of it every single week.
I'd like to go back to your first fall in forever without football. Mm-hmm. What did Joe Flacco's daddy duty and honey-do list look like?
Yeah, listen, very strange. I mean, because like, obviously you think of the NFL, but from the time I was 12 years old, I was going to training camp and then, you know, going and playing in September. So definitely a very different feeling to kind of not be out there and doing it and kind of watching it on TV and kind of having that feeling like, man, why am I still here? Why am I not somewhere doing that? And then as far as daddy duty and like the honey-do list, I mean, that stuff starts pretty quickly in the off season anyway. It just kind of got carried over. Yeah. I mean, I'm home for 2 weeks and the boredom sits, you know, kind of hits you right in the face. And listen, I can keep myself busy for a certain portion of time just with staying in shape and things like that. But past that, I don't have a job. You know, my job is still football. So that's interesting. I get bored really quickly. So with my wife, it's almost like I'm asking, like, what can I do? But like, it's not necessarily stuff around the house. It's like, how can I get out of the house? Yeah. What can you do to, like, how long can you send me on a Target run? I'll go sit in a spot and wait for them to come out, or I'll go run in the store. How many coffees do you need a day? I'll go do that. And then when the kids get home, all hell breaks loose. It's, I'm probably sitting on the couch at that point like this, just kind of waiting for the storm to begin. and they're at the age where they want you to go outside and play with them. And you know, I tell people this because growing up, my dad was around to go play catch with right outside of our house. That's really what I did so much. I mean, we would go places and do that because I had a lot of brothers and stuff too, but I cannot count the amount of times where I threw him a glove or threw him a ball and went out to the front of our house, 60-foot, 50-foot wide lot, whatever it is, and just stood on the sidewalk and just backed up, and just threw for, you know, an hour. And he never blinked. He got up off the couch and said, yeah, let's go. And now I'm in that position, and I couldn't wait to have catch with my kids. And it is a lot of fun, but my first instinct isn't necessarily, let's go. You know, it's like, all right, here we go, bud. So like, you just got to give credit to all. I just think it's a moment where you like realize as a dad, man, my dad, all these dads out there, they don't necessarily like have the energy to want to do it all the time, but they do it anyway. And that's kind of part of being a dad at home right now is doing that, getting out there and being the steady quarterback for the neighborhood and doing those things. So that's kind of where my dad role fell into.
And you don't get another shot at it.
You don't get another shot.
You say no before you know it.
I've been able to realize that. I mean, I have been fortunate enough, even in the off season, to be home with my kids. I mean, we're in a very fortunate position, obviously, as NFL players for many reasons, but that's another one. When you have a family, you can spend time with them, a lot of time with them. And just coming to that realization and getting your ass up off the couch and going out there and hanging out with your kids, because after 1 minute you're out there having fun and it's like you're a kid again. You can take yourself right back to being that 10-year-old playing two-hand touch on the schoolyard or whatever you were doing, playing wiffle ball, you know, challenging them in some kind of basketball game. It's just so much fun.
Now back to your wife Dana though, you were asking, what can I do? How can I help? How can I get out the house? They want all the help when you're not there.
Yeah.
Did you drive her crazy when you were there?
Like I said, it's certain things.
Okay.
It is certain things, because most of the time I'm just getting in the way.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff around the house, I mean, she is so just kind of set in her routine that the first couple weeks I come home, it's a disaster, because I'm just getting in the way. And I'm not used to being around the kids 24/7. So like, my patience is not, you know, I haven't built up, like, I haven't like set, you know, calibrated where I'm supposed to be here. So my patience is like not nearly what it's supposed to be. And there's times where I'm like, you know, during the season, you're going back home and you're saying, hey, it's not that big of a deal. All they want to do, you're telling your wife,
because you're a good cop.
It's not that big of a deal, you know. Hey, listen, I know they're kids, but I wasn't home all day dealing with it constantly, you know, over and over and over again. And then all of a sudden, I come home, and like I said, within 5 days, it's like I'm that guy that's overreacting now. And my wife's telling me, listen, they're just kids. It's not that big of a deal. So it's definitely an adjustment period, just with everything that goes on in the house.
Yeah. You got 5 kids, ages 5 through 11. What has it been like to experience this ride with them, or for them to experience it with you?
They're definitely really excited about it. You know, they just, you know, they know everybody in the league. They're just at that age where they really enjoy everything, MLB, NFL, NBA. I don't know if they see how unique this is, but they're definitely having a lot of fun with it. I am just appreciating the hell out of it. It's just like crazy to be in this position, and you don't think about it when you start having kids, like, man, it's going to be cool. It'll be cool to play in front of them. But now that they're at that age, there was a couple years ago, I played against the Dolphins up in New York, and I saw the way my kids reacted to that game, and I was like, oh my God, I missed out on not being able to play like real games while these guys were this age. So to have this opportunity right now has definitely been huge.
I believe 3 of your sons, I want to say this, have fantasy teams. Did any of them pick you up? And did you carry them to the championship?
Yeah, I think I don't know if I carried them to the championship. You know what? I haven't stayed in tune with exactly how well they're doing in fantasy.
All right.
I think at least one of them picked me up. Obviously, they're in. Like,
that's gotta be cool.
They're in. It's just like, oh my gosh. I'm happy that I think I've actually produced for them too. Like,
yeah, you have.
You know, so that, so they can't really go to school and get a lot of crap for picking up their dad. it would be funny to see if they actually played me during the week or if they were playing, you know, who knows who they had. But, you know, I've literally never played fantasy in my life. I think fantasy became really popular, like kind of like when I was in high school. But it was just like a guy, and it was just one of your buddies, like putting it all together on paper.
Yeah.
It wasn't like wasn't like we were on the internet and like it was doing it all for you. Like a guy was calculating however he was doing it. I never got involved in it. I still have not got involved in it. Our kids have been begging us for a couple years, so this past spring we decided to just, because football was 6 months away, we were like, all right, we'll do one with baseball. And I actually took part in that a little bit. I ran my 5-year-old's team. He had no idea what was going on. He wasn't into it. So I did that a little bit. But that was cool. And it, like I love baseball. So to get those guys sitting in front of the TV, in our case watching the Phillies, which was a lot of fun this year, and just now they know everybody in the league in baseball, and they're into it, and they want to play it, and all those things. And I think it's pretty cool.
I want to focus on this in-between stage where you were, because going around town to Audubon, New Jersey, people are asking you, hey, anybody call yet? How's retirement going? Meanwhile, quarterbacks are going down left and right. How did you manage that mentally and emotionally, kind of wanting to play and waiting for the call?
Yeah, I think it's like there's always that little bit of awkwardness, especially when other people are asking you about it. And they don't know what to say, or sometimes people just say what they say. So, yeah, they do ask, like, hey, are they going to call you? And you're like, you know, I don't know, man, we'll see. And obviously, there's probably, depending on who it is, maybe I have even mixed feelings about what's going on. And then every now and then, yeah, people say, hey, how you enjoying retirement? And like most of the time, it's not like I'm going to get into it with them. Like, oh no, I'm actually not retired. I'm hoping that somebody picks me up. I'm usually just like, oh yeah, man, you know, enjoying this, enjoying that. You know, I just kind of let it be. But at the same time, like, you got to tell yourself, you're not retired. Don't let that creep in. You know, you got to stay ready. So, like I said, you know, there's that fine line between like just letting it go and then also not admitting it to yourself that you are done. And I knew I didn't want to be, so that wasn't like that was the hardest thing in the world. But obviously, there's a bunch of thoughts that go through your head when different situations arise.
What was it like watching? And for that matter, how much were you able to watch during the first part of the season?
Yeah, I watched a good amount, especially the 1 o'clock games. It was easy to watch the 1 o'clock games, and then maybe like the quarter or the first half of the 4 o'clock, and then we'd kind of start getting the kids ready for school the next day and all that stuff. You know, our kids have been begging us for a TV in their room, but we would let them kind of take the iPad up and watch the Sunday night game, the Monday night game, the Thursday night game. We'd yell up at halftime, all right, turn it off, go to bed. Yeah. But I want them to love football, so it's like that's one thing. Like, okay, you can watch the game. Yeah. So yeah, I watched, and it was pretty normal.
Was it?
I mean, it's just what my situation was at the time. I think a lot of things in life, you see people go through things and you're like, man, that must suck, or man, that's got to be unbelievable. But I think when it's you in the moment, it's just you. It's just your life, and you're just kind of going with it to a certain extent, and you're trying to, you know, make sure you make the most of whatever it is. So I think, like I said, I maybe people were kind of wondering this and that, but I think when you're just
like
in
whether you were frustrated.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure there's a little bit of that in my mind, but ultimately, like, a lot of it was out of my control, and I felt like I was doing what I needed to do to that, you know, in terms of everything that was in my control. So I had to be somewhat content with that. You know, like, I'm working out, I'm throwing, I'm doing this, I'm staying ready. All right, let's go watch these games. I mean, I love football. Like, it's fun to watch games, but it's never that fun, I don't think, for guys that are playing in the league. Like, you're a part of this team. I'm a fan of the Cleveland Browns at this moment. I don't care about anybody else. So, like, if everybody could go out and lose on Sunday, like, that would be unbelievable. You know, it's you know, it is a little bit different watching experience, just as a player, as an ex-player, as a wannabe player. I think people that are in those categories always watch games a little bit different than just people that don't ever see themselves being in the NFL or have never been there, you know.
What is your theory as to why it took so long for the phone call to come?
I think I probably have a couple thoughts on that. I don't know if I need to share them. It's not that important. One of them, I mean, just an easy one that people probably couldn't argue with is just like, listen, it's been a few years since I've actually been a starter. You can say I'm older, obviously. And it's just like, why bring him in as a backup, first of all, just because, like, let's see what younger guys can do. And then kind of once the season starts, there's probably only a few teams that are in situations where they're capable of making a postseason push, and they need to go get somebody that they feel like can do that. And like I said, because I haven't started like through a whole season for 3 years, I think your name at some point just kind of gets, you know, thrown out in the mix. And I think people kind of assume they know who you are, even if it's been from afar. So I think, I just think you have to have connections here and there based on people that have coached with you in the past and all that. And just in terms of this, like, listen, I mean, you can talk about why people didn't call me all you want, but at the end of the day, somebody did call me. You know what I mean? Like, so it's tough to look into why people didn't. Because like I said, it's just eventually somebody did.
The right team did.
Yeah, eventually somebody did.
Yeah.
And, you know, people will ask about the time in New York and the time in this. And, like, listen, like, I was playing football and even though I wasn't necessarily doing exactly what I wanted to do, it was still all working towards this moment somehow and this opportunity. And so you can't really look back at any of that and wish it away. It just is what it is, and you have to be able to be, you know, resilient enough to deal with certain things. And then, you know, like I said, when the right opportunity comes, I mean, I thought the last 3 years there was some kind of right opportunity, and it just never quite panned out the way that maybe I saw it. But you never know what's waiting for you, and, you know, what opportunities and how many chances you're going to get. So,
I love that. You had never thrown for 300 yards in 3 straight games. Now you've done it in 4 straight. Okay, I don't know if you knew this, you're the first player with 250 or more yards and 2 touchdowns in his first 5 games with the team. Like, this has been historic. Now you're about to make your first playoff start in 9 years, and I wonder, how does this Joe Flacco, who's about to take the field at NRG Stadium, compare to the Joe Flacco who took the field in 2019 in Baltimore?
well, listen, you know, my brother's going to watch this interview. He's going to make fun of me because he says I always say, well, listen. And then I think when you play quarterback and you can stay healthy and you can keep your body in shape, you should get better. You've seen more. You know how to react quicker to things. You know how to manage certain situations because you've made mistakes in the past. You've messed up a lot of things and you've done things correct, but you've learned from all kinds of different things. So you should be able to get better as a quarterback. And I haven't played the most games over the last few years, but you're still able to sit there and watch and learn. So I think in that respect, yeah, I should be a better player. When you start talking about the stats and stuff like that, I mean, those things can get, listen, in Baltimore, we won a lot. And it wasn't necessarily our goal to go out there and throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. It was to win the football game. Now, yeah, listen, at points in my career, I fought that battle. Like, but I want to go out and throw for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns every week. You know, like, yeah, I want to win, but I want to do that too. I think just the perspective that you gain when you've been around this long, and I think that I've been afforded this year, is that you do kind of remember just how important it is to just win and not worry about all that other stuff. And yeah, I guess in the last few games, some of that stuff has happened also, but it's really just because we've kind of let the game come to us. Kevin's been pretty aggressive. It's just kind of how we've had to win maybe a little bit, and we've gotten things going early in the first half, go back to the talent that we have. Yeah. But it's really just been about winning football games. Those things kind of just come with it. And I think that was true back, you know, in Baltimore the same way. But yeah, I mean, last playoff game I played in was 2014 against New England, up in New England, and we lost. And you don't think at that time that you're not going to play in a playoff game for 9 more years. Yeah. You just, especially at that point, that was my 7th year, and we'd only missed the playoffs 1 year. And you hear, hey, don't get used to this. Get used to it. Try to get used to it, but listen, the league's not always like this. And so you definitely don't envision that as being the last chance that you're going to get to play in a playoff game, or at least in this case for 9 years. So you just got to live in the moment and take advantage of every single day that you have. Because and when you put yourselves in these situations, we've earned the right to be here. Just take advantage of everything, because you don't know what's coming after this. You don't know what's coming next, and you got to enjoy it as much as you can right now.
Having played them recently, had such a big performance against them, what are your expectations? What carries over, if anything? Obviously, a regular season playoff, but what can you take away from that first matchup and apply it to this one?
I think when you're us in the situation of that game, you can get trapped into thinking that game has any meaning. But in reality, man, when you get to this time of the year and people have that energy and they feel like everybody in this playoff tournament has earned their right to be there. And to punch your ticket, everybody has that. Everybody's excited to get out there and play. And these games, like I said, they come down to executing the little things and just execution. How well can you do it, play in and play out. So the game that we played against these guys a few weeks ago, it really has no bearing on what we're about to deal with, coming up this Saturday. It's all about how we can go execute this time around.
Is there a fearlessness or freedom that comes from being where you've been, well, not just earlier this season, but the last several years, that translates to the way you're playing right now?
Yeah, sure. I think you're always as a player trying to find a way to go out there and play that way, whether that's through your preparation or past experiences. I think most of the time it is through your preparation. If you can prepare the best you've ever prepared every single week, then you're going to be able to go out there and play pretty loose. At the same time, when you've had it taken away from you to a certain extent and haven't had the opportunity to do it as much, you definitely gain a new perspective on it, and maybe that even goes up a level in terms of once you hit the field, being able to just go out and play football. Because when you sit back and you watch it on TV, you realize how fortunate we all are for playing it.
Everybody's talking about this team meeting earlier this week, where some of the more experienced people spoke. You've experienced 7 road playoff wins as a starter. What did you tell the team specifically about what it takes to win this time of year, especially on the road?
Right. So I spoke last. I was kind of nervous about that just because I listened to what everybody else said. And the last thing you want to do when you go up there is contradict your teammates and your coaches and all that.
Hold on, guys. Let me tell you how
okay, he said this, but really that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is what matters. So you got to be careful with that. But our guys did a great job. Our receivers coach led it off, and he's played the most playoff games, been a part of the most playoff games out of anybody, and just had some really cool things to say about myths of playoff football. I said to the guys, this is what you live for. This, as a football player, this is exactly what you live for. And everybody thinks that now you need to go make these big, giant plays and be the man and all that. And I just told them that it comes down to fundamentals and doing those things really well. And I think whoever does that the best wins these football games, because those are the things that show when 2 good teams are playing against each other. Everybody has talent. Everybody has a good offense. Everybody has a good defense. All that. It's just so it comes down to who can do the little things better. And I said, you got to find comfort in that as well. Okay, what does that mean? Who cares? How do you get to go out there and do that? And I think you got to find comfort in things. One of the things you find comfort in, and that allows you to go play with that fearlessness and that freedom, is that, man, that's nothing special. That's easy. All I got to do is make sure I prepare so that I can do the little things. Everybody on the field, everybody in that room can do little things, basic things really, really well. They don't have to do anything crazy. They just have to do those things as best as they can. And I think knowing that, it's all right, I can go do that then. What makes this any different? It's about executing at the highest level in terms of the most basic things. I think the teams that can do that and they can keep it that simple, they allow themselves to go play free during this time of the year. and make that push.
It's been called, and again, I know you can wrap your mind around it, but it's been called fairy tale and storybook and a Hollywood script. But what is the moral of Joe Flacco's story?
Wow. I think the biggest thing that you learn from the position I've been in the last few years is if you love something, you continue to do it until you can't do it anymore for whatever reason. But you continue to live that dream. No matter what your situation, I think it would be very easy for people to say, why would you go be a backup? And and believe me, I've sat in my car and talked on the phone and said, man, and had that conversation with myself and other people, like, what am I doing? Why am I putting myself through this? Like, that was pretty miserable, wasn't it? That, whether I played in the game or wasn't playing in the game. But you turn that off. You have that conversation and you turn it off, and you give yourself the answer as to why you continue to do it. And I think, like I said, does that attitude promise this opportunity? No. But I do think it's an important lesson in just, if you do have that fire to continue to do it, don't let anybody else tell you that you can't. You continue to act like you're the one doing it, and if an opportunity presents itself, you're going to be ready to make the most of it. So
you stay ready, so you have to get ready. How worth it was the wait for that phone call from the Browns, looking back?
Yeah, it's tough to put into words, obviously, because when people talk about the other side of it, the surreal part of it, there's truth to that. Yeah. So, to the way it's been, and to, like I said, to be on this team, I'm not in control of that. I don't know who is. Like, obviously, people are in control of that, but for it to work out the way it is, I think sometimes you can get caught up saying, man, that guy's pretty lucky. Look, how did he get in that situation? And especially in today, like, everybody can compare themselves to somebody else instantly. And I think it's very important to realize, like, I think over the last few weeks, I looked at myself and, like, man, dude, you're pretty lucky. When I look at a lot of the things that I have, football and non-football, man, it's been a cool little, like, recalibration and, like, a wake up of, like, just look at yourself, man. Like, you've been pretty lucky. So it's been a lot of fun.
Get It with Michael Smith, presented by The Farmer's Dog.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.